What's up guys, this is Miasin, and today we're going to be going over the results of the most recent YCS, well actually the one that happened last weekend, because we do have another YCS planned for this weekend, and another one in like another 2 weeks. So YCS Houston is going to be the next one, and then YCS Mexico no sorry, it's not even a 3v3, and then after that we're probably going to have the ban list. Hopefully it can be before Mexico City, and then we're going to have YCS Providence, I believe, yes, in Rhode Island. Which is good for me, finally a YCS that I can drive to, because everything else has been extremely far away, and for some reason going to like Houston and Texas is like $2,000 for me. I really have no idea. It actually costs like the same to go to like Australia than it does to like go to Texas, but whatever, it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, anyways, before we go any further, you all know the drill, smash the like, subscribe button, blah blah blah. Okay, so out of the top 32 decks, we only have 29, well I mean we're only missing 3 out of 32, and we have a lot of different decks here, which is really interesting. And there are some decks that I think at this point we always see every single time, especially in like South America, like Yubel, because of the exact same guy that plays this deck every single time. I don't really have to like spoil it, but yeah, it's kind of obvious. There's one player that just doesn't know how to play any other deck. I'm just kidding. He can play any deck he wants to. He's one of the best players in the world. And yeah, Fire King, really cool to see that Dinkabui is not the only player who can play this deck. But yeah, we've got a Mermail that actually won the whole thing, so that's really incredible. It's Luca Daniel Garcia Gonzalez, so we're going to be checking out the deck list really soon, even though I think the deck is going to get destroyed on the bad list, because this is not the first time Mermail wins a YCS. And also the second time that it does, it's in South America, because the last time it was 2 Mermail out of 3 in San Salvador. Anyways, Razol, we've got 10 out of 32, but not really, because there's also Mitsurugi Razol, so technically 11 out of 29. So in theory, that almost could be half of Top Cut. Again, we don't know what these decks are, but probably just Razol and Maliss, that would make sense, because if you're playing one of those decks, then nobody really cares about your deck profile, because it's not going to get a lot of views since people are kind of fed up of those decks, so you might as well just not make one, because it's a waste of time. So yeah, I really understand why there are still a few decks that we're missing. I don't really think it's like any interesting spicy rogue decks. But yeah, Maliss in 3rd place, no actually no, in 2nd place in terms of representation, and 8 out of the top 29, I guess you can say. So that's actually quite a lot. It's really catching up to Razol, which is kind of concerning. And one of my boys actually managed to make top 8, so shout out to Francisco if you're watching this. Maliss is still a very scary deck, and hopefully it gets annihilated by the ban list, because the new support is very concerning. But yeah, now we've got, oh, the juice, the spice of today's video, Crystron. Of course, you already know it, and not just any kind of Crystron, the best version of Crystron, Crystron Kashtira, which is the way I play the deck. And of course, if you want to know how to play Crystron like a true champ, I really recommend checking out my Crystron spreadsheet. It'll always be on my website, yacineygo.com, which is at the very top of the description box below. But yeah, Crystron, we're going to be going over this in a second. And then Memento, 2 out of the top cut, so that's really impressive as well. Blue Eyes, yeah, but that deck could have converted a little less good than Memento and Crystron, which is a little disappointing, because less and less people are playing Blue Eyes, because the hype is kind of dying down, since, you know, obviously it's like a very nostalgic deck, it's a fun deck, and it's a good deck. But at the same time, there's other decks that are equally as good, if not sometimes even better than Blue Eyes. So are you really still trying to play that deck? Mitsurugi, okay, yeah, sure, that's like that's always been like the least popular version of Razol. Obviously, pure Razol and Fiendsmith Razol just always see more play. Tenpai Dragon, shoutouts to Rico, that's absolutely insane. Oh my god, he made like this last minute decision to play this deck, barely got any testing with it, and it worked out. Super happy for him. And then of course Yubel, you already know who it is, and Fire King. Alright, cool, let's get into the Mermail deck list, because obviously I got 1st place. So, oh, this doesn't look like a, wait, hold on a second, I literally clicked on the first one, and, okay, yeah, never mind, I am stupid. Okay, so this deck list is interesting, because we've got 3 Passagira the Storming Atlantean instead of just 2. And then apart from that, nothing really interesting. I mean, yeah, main decking the Water Bearer statue, not everybody does that. And then only 2 Dominus Impulse, 43 cards with 1-for-1 and Prosperity, and 1 talent. So I'm really happy that people are no longer playing the super dogshit cards like the Trap card and all the bricks, because it was getting ridiculous. But there's no Moulin Glacia in this version, so we're looking at 1, 2... Yeah, not a lot of bricks. Really, just barely any. Yeah, that's really clean. And you can argue that the Super Ancient Deep Sea King Silicanth is not really a brick because you can just make the Abyss like Keeper or something. I forgot the name of the Link 2 monster that summons a fish from the hand. So yeah, that way even if you draw it, it's fine. I do not believe that you can summon it from the hand using this. No, I don't think so. It either searches or special summons very strictly from the deck. But yeah, otherwise it would have been pretty cool. But yeah, congrats to Luca for winning the whole thing. And then Juan Mateo, of course, my boy, got, what, 3rd place or 4th place? No, 2nd place. So, oh my god, I'm really stupid. 2nd place at the Worlds of not, like, last year, but the year before, the one where Paulie won. So, yeah, he played Sword Soul at Worlds, and now he's back with Razol Fiendsmith. And he did incredibly good, getting 2nd place again. My god, yo, when are you gonna be getting 1st place, my brother? Hopefully soon. Okay, that's really cool to see. Another Razol Fiendsmith. Okay, no decklist here, no decklist here, Maliss, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there you go. So this is the first Crystron decklist that we have access to. And you're probably noticing something if you have watched my own Crystron videos, right? There is kind of a pattern that you can recognize. This decklist is quite similar to what I played at YCS Sydney. If I recall correctly, the main deck is the exact same. I'm not really seeing any differences. I am looking at 13 hat shops, so 1, 2, 3, and then 11, 13, with the 4 Kashtira cards, so Double Fenrir, Unicorn Birth, and then the exact same ratio of Crystron monsters. Every Crystron card that is played here is played rightfully so. However, the extra deck and the side deck are a little different, so I'm not going to be going over this deck list too much in detail because I do want to cover it in another in-depth video that will most likely drop tomorrow or the day after. I'm not 100% sure, but yes, stay tuned on this one because it is pretty interesting. But yeah, we're just gonna keep going because there's another Crystron deck list anyways, so it's not like it's the only thing to look into. Maliss, whatever. Actually, there are 2 Maliss deck lists right here. Okay, so a lot of Bestials, fantastic, cool story, bro. And then another one that is, okay, this time no Metal Tronus in the main deck, but Book of Eclipse in the main deck. And also a lot of Bestial monsters. This one was played by my boy, Francisco. Fantastic. And yeah, no, it's a really cool deck list. Very similar, I believe, to the deck list that he used to top YCS San Salvador. But this time he also played Mischief of the Gnomes in the side deck. And he sided the 2 Dominus Impulse, but main decked 1. Which is interesting, but it makes a lot of sense when you're playing Triple Tactic Thrust. You just want to diversify the trap cards that you're playing. So it does make sense because it's bad against Razol, but it's very good against Maliss, and it's a good card to set going first. So yeah, I really understand, and also no Imperm, just because it's not strong enough. So yeah, the Bestials at the very least, they're extenders. And when you're playing, you know, 7 Bestials in your deck, then you gotta play 9 Maliss monsters, and also Dimension Shifter is very logical. I think this deck list is really good because when you're playing Shifter against the Razol deck, they're just making Detonator Pass with nothing else, so no field spell, no weird thing. And then Book of Eclipse will always break the board because it's not like they can do the trick with Twins of the Eclipse and stuff. And you can easily OTK your opponent after Shiftering. It's very easy. Hearts of Cryptor is so much damage on its own. It's basically impossible that your opponent wins the game. So yeah, definitely like this approach on the Maliss deck. And also main deck Duster is really interesting. Whoa. I mean, I can understand because, you know, you duster your opponent's Razol field spell going second. You can also thrust into it or like lure into like board breakers, which is the reason why a lure is really good in this version. You're not trying to play hand traps because by the time you draw them, it's already too late. Your opponent already comboed off. But then you can draw into Duster and then you can Typhon, bounce like, I mean, break the half of the board. And then you got Bestials to like survive. It makes a lot of sense. I definitely like it a lot. So yeah, if I were to play Maliss, maybe I'd play something similar to that. I don't know. Mitsurugi, Razol, and then Tenpai, we're just gonna open both and then check both in sequence. This one's really weird because usually the Mitsurugi Razol deck list, they don't play, I mean, as many Mitsurugi cards. Now there's a lot of them. There's Nadir Servant, and then there's 2 Saji with a Kusanagi, the Futsu, and 2 Ame. And then, you know, obviously Maximus and stuff like that. It's not that it's like bad or like super weird, but it's just that this is like the initial way people used to play the deck, you know, back in the days. And it's interesting to see that people are still playing this old version of the deck. They're not really playing the newer way to play Mitsurugi Razol, so by playing literally like 3 Mitsurugi monsters. So 1 Ame, and then 1 Futsu, 1 Saji, no Kusanagi, and then no second Ame. no Nadir Servant. That's usually what I see, but yeah. And also, usually people play a lot of hand traps. Now there's only 2 Ultimate Slayer, 2 Droplet, 2 Metaltronus, 2 Talent, and Nadir Servant is basically a board breaker, but it's a weird one because then you can only really do Mitsurugi combos for the rest of the turn. Okay, this was Rico's deck list, so huge shoutouts to you if you're watching this, of course, the GOAT. And 42 card deck list, I'm not even sure if he was trying to go first or second, probably second still, because if you go first with a deck like this, you really do feel like you're playing a Wars deck, because I've tested Bestial Fiendsmith for when it goes first, and it just, like, it breaks so much. I really don't understand how with triple Engraver, triple Tract, triple Lacrima, and 1 Lori, so 10 starters out of 40, there's like a 75 or 77 or something % chance that you draw one of your starters. It's just not enough. But yeah, when you're playing Tenpai, I guess you can argue that like Paidra is a good card to draw going first, like Genroku and stuff like that, but I mean, Chundra does nothing, Fadra does nothing, and then all the Bestials, they do nothing, Lubellion does nothing on its own. There's just a lot of cards that aren't good enough for when you're going first, on game 1 at the very least, but I mean, if someone forces you to go first, then at the very least you're playing a deck that can go first, but I think this deck is still optimal to play going second. I just think that's like how I would play the deck. And it's also very interesting that he's citing a second copy of Branded Regain, so he's trying to make this deck like super grindy. And also with Metaltronus and the Razol Detonator, but no Malice Whitebinder, so clearly he's just trying to cite this card in against Razol, and that's it. Phantasme is also just there for Malice. It's probably not even there for Razol Fiendsmith. I really doubt it because he already has a lot of Bestials, so what would he be citing out anyways? Like triple Lubellion Regain probably? And then maybe Fiendsmith in Paradise, I'm not sure. I really have no idea what the citing patterns would be. You can also cite out the Lacrima when you're doing that. There's a lot of ways to make it work. It really depends, but I think every side deck option can be justified if you really put the time and effort into like understanding what card are you citing out when you're citing in those cards. If that makes any sense. I know that was a little confusing. Yeah. We have 2 more interesting decks. So the Crystron Kashtira deck list from top 16. This is not the same as the one that you just saw like a few seconds ago. So this was played by Matias Ivan Lopez Canton. I hope I didn't destroy your name, but yeah, huge shoutouts to you for being another fellow Crystron player. It always brings like a smile to my face every time I see. But again, I'm really honored to have started this trend of, you know, the Kashtira Crystron deck list. I do believe genuinely that it is significantly the best way to play the Crystron deck. The Kashtiras bring so much to your deck. They're incredibly good going first and second, and they have like actual inherent synergy, and this time we can see it with Vermilion Dragon Mech. I do plan on making a video just on how good this card is and how good the Kashtira cards are overall, because I think it's very slept on. But yeah, no, there's quite a lot of things that you can do here, and also this deck is extremely similar to the one I played at YCS Sydney again. So both top 16 and top 8 deck list were almost card for card the exact same. The only difference is that now there's triple Ogre and triple Droll, no Fueros and no Nibiru, so that's something. And also we've got triple Fenrir and 1 Prosperity, so still playing the Prosperity, even though in my deck list I said that I didn't really like it too much. And he bumped up Fenrir from 2 to 3, which I can totally understand. The Crystron lineup is the exact same, and yeah, the consistency cards are also the same, you know, triple Inclusion, Foolish Burial, and yeah, pretty much the same amount of non-engine cards overall. It's just that there's less hand traps because now you're doing like 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, 12 hand traps with 3 Droplet and a Cowbite, triple Fenrir. That's still a huge amount, so yeah, I think this is a very clean deck list as well. I like both the top 16 and the top 8 deck list. So this time we're seeing 2 FA Down Dragsters, and we're not seeing High Speed Road Hagoita, which is also very interesting. But we're seeing Vermilion Dragon Mech. So if you want to, I mean, you can definitely play this over the second Dragster. Or you can, I mean, there has to be a way that you can still try to squeeze in the Hagoita, because that card is really freaking nice. And everything else, I mean, yeah, pretty standard in this version. And also, we are not seeing Molchemi Perelia in the side deck whatsoever. We're not seeing Molchemi Nialis either. So Malice has to kind of be a tough matchup because Droll and Ogre are terrible against Malice, so you have to side out these 6 cards going second, and then you gotta side in, you know, triple Lancia, double Chaos Hunter, triple Nibiru, and the Duster, so that's -6 cards, plus 9 cards, and then you still have to find out, like, another 3 cards to side out, maybe the Unicorn, the Birth, and, I don't know, like 1 Droplet or something like that. Or you can just keep all the cash cards and also side out the Droplet, because that card is horrendous. But yeah, I feel like there's not enough cards for Malice, even though I can't really blame him, because Malice is just an RNG matchup. Like, if you face it, and if you get unlucky, it is what it is. but a lot of going first cards, you know, triple Solemn Judgment and triple Solemn Strike. So when you're going first, you feel like there's basically 0% chance you can lose, and that feels absolutely incredible. So yeah, that's just, that's really nice. And then Primate Blue Eyes, this one, I mean, it's kind of a standard deck list, so I'm not really going to waste too much time here. And even the side deck is very standard. There's nothing super worth explaining. Memento, another deck that I think is still interesting enough. So this one is on a board breaker approach. I have actually seen this from, yeah, Leonardo. So yeah, huge shoutouts to you as well. Really cool that there's basically no hand shop other than Molchimi Furos. There's no Ash either to like stop Molchimi Pyrolia and Furos, because this deck can inherently navigate through those hand shops anyways. Other than Shifter, I don't really feel like this deck has any huge, like any one hand shop that just completely cripples it. Like this deck only really scoops to Shifter and that's it, that's all. Everything else I think is very manageable, and it's a really clean list. I really like the ratios overall, you know, triple Anguish, triple Darkblade, triple Tatsuno Toshigo, double Goblin with a triple Grand Breakout. So a lot of consistency cards like 9, 11, 14, and then you also have some semi one-card starters, like Mace is a semi one-card starter, it's not bad. Bone Party with like, you know, one of the bad cards can still works. And then Memento Fusion with 2 bad Mementos also works, but there's a lot of wiggle room when, you know, you're going first, you get a hand shopped, and then you still have, you know, the other cards like Bone Party and Memento Fusion that allows you to just play through hand shops, or even Grand Breakout, you know. You get impermed on Tatsuno Toshigo's effect and not on the summon. You just go, okay, Chain Grand Breakout, summon the Goblin, and then Tatsuno Toshigo resolves. It still destroys, it still foolishes, and then your opponent basically loses. So yeah, very interesting deck list for sure. And then this one is wow, oh my god, Extravagance. What? I never would have guessed that Extravagance could have been an option in Memento. I mean, it does make sense, that's the worst part, because the extra deck, honestly, other than these 2 fusions and Garden Chimera, I don't really see how you're going into the other cards that often. I'm pretty sure he must have went into Dark and Unicorn, like, barely any times. But yeah, Dark into SP, yeah, that's a big one. So yeah, that's really cool. Wow, that's Pot of Extravagance, that's insane. Maybe I'm just, like, I just sleep under a rock and I've never heard about it, but wow, that's insane. But yeah, Blue Eyes again. And then Yubel from Patrick Hoban, of course, the GOAT. This is, okay. Shoutouts to Ezekiel, or, sorry, again, I'm bad with names. This deck list is very interesting because we are seeing the one of Magnamut and one of Baldric, and in case you didn't know what was the reasoning behind playing those cards in the deck, so essentially your Heretic Seal can float into Magnamut and then End-Phase Surge Baldric, and then that's actually, that translates to, oh sorry, no, it's not really that. I mean, yes, when you're getting nibbed, but on your opponent's turn, Heretic Seal bounces back a card and then it summons Baldric, and that just leads to like an extra disruption, whereas I feel like most people, they don't even know about that or something. But yeah, no, Baldric is actually a really good card in this deck, so it's kind of shocking to see that nobody plays it. And also the other hand shops overall, I think they're pretty cool in this deck, but yeah, it's really up to you if you want to main deck the Molchimi Furos or not. I don't really think there's too much conflicting. Ogre, I just think is getting worse and worse because less and less people are playing Blue Eyes, so yeah. But there is no Dominus Purge. I really like that. I think Dominus Purge is actually completely overrated in this deck. It's less good than what people think it is, because when you purge your opponent, you can't actually make a Typhon and break the board because you can't use Dark Effects for the rest of the duel. So if you have Dominus Purge and a weak hand and your opponent still makes Detonator through it because you purged the Razol Duo Drive, then you actually still lose the game. It's so bad. It looks like it's the nuts, but it's honestly shit. I really don't like Dominus Purge. So yeah, it's really cool to see that someone is taking a different approach. And also not even citing the Dominus Purge, has the Kwakimeru Drago for like another Heretic Seal target, which is broken against like Maliss and a bunch of things. Granted that you can get rid of their normal summon, and then Ultimate Surfer going second, etc. Everybody does that though, because this deck doesn't lose to Dwellers, so you're not really scared of like lingering things. And unless people make like Star Leech Photon Blast, then you can always target the Razor Duo Drive. Okay, so this is Yubel from Patrick Hoban, of course. This is the exact same, I think, deck list from before. Maybe like a couple of changes, but I do remember that you played like 17 starters or something last time. So 3, 6, 7, 10, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, basically 20, because Prosperity kind of counts. I don't know how relevant Prosperity is, because I feel like the extra deck is super tight. Honestly, I wouldn't bother playing Prosperity in this deck. I just cut this card completely and just play 44. And maybe you want to play 3 opening. I'm not sure. I don't know. Actually, no, that's fine. You can play 3 Dark Beckoning Beast and 2 opening, and then just not play Chaos Summoning Beast. So then you play a minimal package of bricks. But I think Patrick Hoban just demonstrated just how intelligent he is at deck building, because he is one of the very few like humans on Earth who has the balls to play Sharvara with no Unchained Trap cards. And he also plays Dark Beckoning Beast with no Chaos Summoning Beast, even though he could, because opening is a 2. Well, I mean, opening is a 3. And yeah, no, he's really just not playing a lot of bad cards at all. When you think about it, there's, I guess, the Yubel bricks, but it is what it is. Great, I mean, Squirmer is not really a brick. Sharvara is like a semi-brick, but the trap card is bad. Nightmare Pain is a semi-brick. And then that's pretty much it. Every other card is good. And you can play so many non-engine cards when you're like doing like an approach like this. You know, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 hand shops with a whopping, you know, I mean, 3 Metaltronics, so that's a whopping 18 non-engine in 45. Like it a lot. I think, again, the only thing that I personally would change would be Prosperity, just because I don't think it's needed when the extra deck space is super tight. And also, he's playing Underworld Goddess, which I have not seen since YCS Cancun, when Itipat and Pac were playing the Kashtira cards, because that's just more bodies. So if your opponent lets a lot of stuff go through, then you just make Moon of the Close Sky effect. And then they go, oh yeah, you probably don't play it. And then you actually go into Underworld Goddess, because usually when you use the effect of Moon, it's kind of like a bluff. It's kind of obvious that you don't like have it, but you're just trying to like force out a response from your opponent. But sometimes you actually do play the Underworld Goddess and it just catches people off guard. And by the way, now that it's out, you can play it. The Duke of Demise. It is the cool fusion summon to fusion monster to make off of sequence, but I don't really think it's better than Aerial Eater, especially not in this deck. So yeah, I think this deck list is perfect as it is. Actually, huge fan. If you want to play Yubel, I think Patrick's list is probably the way to go. And every other deck list is probably like just not really interesting, so I don't really care too much. Whoa, hold on a second. Is that a player from Switzerland? No way. So 2 Swiss players in Top Cut. That is insane. A lot of diversity in the countries when you think about it. That's I have no idea. Oh, Uruguay. Yeah, sorry. Peru, obviously Brazil. What is that? Bolivia? Yeah, there we go. And then this is Ecuador. And then Chile, exactly. And then Argentina, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Switzerland. And then Switzerland again. That is insane. Oh my god. I had no idea. Oh, that's really cool. But yeah, this is the final deck list that we're going to be looking into. So, Fire King, only 1 Arvada, 2 Bestial Monsters. I think that's like 17 hand shops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 17. And then Double Sanctuary, 1 Island. Okay, I like that. And then 2 Skyburn. So people, sometimes they're doing like double Island, triple Skyburn, and sometimes triple Sanctuary, which I think is way too much. Which makes them play less non-engine cards, so that their deck is worse going second, or well yeah, worse going second. Or they play like less starters, like 1 or 2 Ponics, and then 2 Volcanics. Yo, please, for the love of God, do not play 2 Volcanics in Fire King, or else I'll slap the shit out of you. But yeah, triple Extravagance with 1 Prosperity, that's also really clean. I think this is a great list. Huge fan of it, so shoutouts to Franco for I mean, not really for coming up with this, because I feel like most people are playing something that is basically identical anyways, but no, it's a cool list. And then, yeah, triple Garunix, triple Princess. I would actually do triple Typhon, honestly. I don't really think you're going into, like, Doolittle, Chimera, and Sunlight Wolf, like, ever. Those cards are actual copium. But, I mean, Salamander Almirage can come up, so that one doesn't suck. You can normal summon Veiler or Molchami, and then make Elmirage and then crash, and then your Garunix can actually trigger. So I think Elmirage is like one of the better cards that you can play. Relinquished Anima, I just don't really think is real, because everybody has PTSD now from the Snake Eye format, so nobody really plays into this card anymore, unless you play like Kaijus and stuff like that, which is not there. And yeah, the Dark Charmer with 2 Hita. I think, yeah, like I said, for the most part, everything is great. I'll just cut like these 2 cards for 2 more Typhons, because Extravagance banishing like your 1 of Typhon, it makes it so that even if you draw like, I don't know, like Duster, which he doesn't play, but yeah, Duster, get rid of the field spell, make Typhon, bounce back the Detonator. That would be like a way to win going second, for example. But yeah, this deck doesn't lose to Dweller, by the way. You can easily play on your opponent's standby phase, because even when your monsters die, like some of them, they don't even trigger right away. Like, Ponix, for example, and then the OG Garunix, these 2 monsters. And also if you want to play Barong, that's another decent option. I think the card is pretty slept on. Yeah, a lot of the chummies. Yeah, so we're basically playing all 9 chummies post game 1, but only really bringing all of them in against like Memento. That's like the only deck. I mean, Yubel as well. Apart from that, there's usually just a maximum of 6 chummies for one given matchup. Triple Lancia, of course, right? Makes sense. And then double Droll when called by triple Solemn Judgment. I don't know how relevant Droll is when you're already playing 9 chummies. I feel like that's really overkill. I wouldn't do like 9 chummies and then Droll. Maybe I would try to play like some other cards instead. Maybe Duster, maybe something else. I have no idea. Maybe one Nibiru, so that there's something to draw into off of your chummies. You can always play some one-ofs when you're playing so many draw power cards. But again, that's a philosophical question for another day, because I don't really want to go too deep into that. But yeah, you guys let me know how you feel about all these deck lists from YCS Buenos Aires. Again, sorry for butchering any name out there, but yeah, I hope that was still recognizable. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.